Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and welcome to the broadcast. Hi, Jamie. For those of you who are new or are watching this on the replay, just so that you know, what we normally do is we start off by doing some news, views, and updates, just to give everybody that wants to be here a chance to pop in. And then we will then get on to the Soul Work Sunday, which is our topic for today. So if you're watching on the replay, you're going to see underneath it's going to say from 00 to such and such a time, news, views, and updates, or something like that. It depends how I'm feeling. And then after that, it's going to say from this time onwards, the topic. So that's how you go. Hi there, Jody. Good to see you. And that's nice. It tells me that I'm live now. I feel very special. I guess that's working. So I know from talking to Jody earlier that, oh, sorry, I've got a piece of hair that's gone down my ear. That's not comfortable. She's been making a tomato pie. I've never had a tomato pie in my life. I have no idea what that is. But it sounded really interesting. And if Jody's cooking it, you know it's going to be good. And just before I forget, I probably will mention it again, but for dinner tonight, because everybody always asks me, I'm doing a maple and mustard pork tenderloin with maple baked beans and bacon on toasted buns. So I'm not quite sure, but somehow that's all going to go together. Hi there, Linda. Good to see you. Well, we think you're pretty special too, Linda. There's no doubt about that. The good news is, and it's a long time coming, this one, I dropped a pound at last. I mean, I cannot tell you the things that I've been doing to try and do that. But at last I did. I have a hint for you all, or a hack that I wanted to show you. As you probably have noticed, my nails have really grown again, and it makes it really difficult with my man-sized hands to work with a phone. I don't know if any of you have that sort of problem. But I thought I would show you what I found out this week. I'm just going to turn my phone on because I don't want you. Okay, it's working. All right. I just didn't want to put the code in. But I've got a little metal spoon. And if you want to not use your maybe you're busy cooking and your hands are all covered in dough or flour or whatever. But what I want you to show you was that you can just literally tap whatever you want to. Those are the cookies I baked yesterday. I did some ginger snaps. Gosh, they were good. But you can, even better picture. You just tap it with the back of a spoon. Did any of you know that? And you can, I find that on my tablet, I can use a teaspoon. The trick is it needs to be metal. And the trick is that obviously it shouldn't be serrated or sharp or anything else. That's why a teaspoon works really well. But I found it out this week and I thought, gosh, I got to tell the viewers about that because they will enjoy that. I'm probably going to do a quick special vlog on it. Be right back getting a spoon. There you go, Linda. Yeah, try it out. I was going to ask, Jody, did you try it? It's one of my MacGyver moments. I find it so difficult. I have these huge hands and now my nails have grown again. So this is like, now, Jamie, oh, Jody, you got to try it, really. It's like magic. It's like, how did I live all these years without knowing this? So it's like everything else in life, it's really, really important. I just want to take a moment. It works. Yes, I told you it worked. Isn't it interesting? So now when you're cooking or when you've got sticky hands or, in my case, when I've got hands covered in paint, I can just pick up a spoon that I can keep clean and just use it. By the way, talking about clean, for those of you who've been following my, this is the desk that I promised I would clean in my studio. It is clean. Now, in case you're wondering what's the big deal, I just want to show you what the big deal is. If I can find it. Yep. Last week, I'm embarrassed to show this, but last week it looked like this. And it took me a week. So first of all, to get to it. But then, by the way, it's one of my pieces of art on top there. But then to actually clear it. So I'm very proud of myself. Linda, how are you doing with those eBay things? You're going to have to teach me how to do this, because I think I'm going to start selling my stuff once I move. Once I've worked out what I really want to keep. Anyway, so this has been a very interesting. Now, I wanted to say to Jamie, because Jamie's our spa person. Jamie, what I've started to do, and I'm quite surprised, I started drinking a concoction of lemon and ginger tea, which I found is surprisingly tasty. And, it really surprised me how tasty it is. And what I do is I keep that on a coffee warmer in the kitchen. And all I do is I just keep topping it up. But what I did today, hang on a second, you lost motivation or I did? Well, I've also decided that I'm going to start, for the first cup in the morning, also put in a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I'll do whatever it takes at this point. I really, it is time. But let me see how I do here. But what I will say is having the lemon tea going in the kitchen, that's the interesting thing. Having it going all the time, I found every time I go into the kitchen, I drink another cup. And so for the first time this week, I actually had one day where I had more than the allocated amount of fluid. And they say water, but I'm pretty sure that lemon ginger, I drink far more easily than water, so I'm going to keep with that. And here's the thing. Does it work? Let me tell you, we will find out. I will continue to do that. The other thing I wanted to say is that some of you know I've got my Fitbit. I've really started to say every time I go into focus on something, I'm going to turn my Fitbit on and find out exactly how much energy I expend. And the reason I wanted to show you this, and if any of you have got one of these watches or something similar, I wanted to show you because it really is interesting. Yesterday, look what I did in steps when I focused for 1 hour. Solid, you know what I mean? I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And then I took an hour off and then I did the next thing and kept going and kept going. And I actually did over 7,000 steps, which for me is very unusual. So I was happy with that. And I don't know whether that also helped, but the good news is I'm doing well, Jamie. I really am trying to do whatever I can at this point because it's ridiculous. All right, so thank you for being here, and I'm really looking forward to this. We're going to be doing our Soul Work Sunday, and as you know, this is where we let go of whatever went wrong this week. It's gone. Whatever we didn't do, it's gone. And let's start again. One comment that Jody made, and Jody, I wanted to just talk about that. Jody made a comment that she didn't finish her to-do list. And I'm going, I never finish my to-do list, because that's not what I do. I just literally take everything that I've got on the list and pick the first. I don't know what the rest of you do. I pick the 6 most important, and I try and put them in different areas of my life, like my financial, my health, my downsizing, cleaning is quite important to me at this point. You know what I mean? I try to find 6 areas of my life and slot 1 in for each, because I know that I will do some of the other things anyway. Yes, your to-do list is endless. I quite agree, Linda. So is mine. So that's why I just pull 6 out every morning. And I quite often do a lot of other things that are on the list, but these are the 6 I want to concentrate on. And I put them in importance order to me. And then what I do is, when I've sort of had my second cup of coffee and I start to function, then I go, okay, this is it. Time to focus. 1 hour at that job. And I must admit that it works for me. And I'm going to continue to do that with the downsizing. I am now probably halfway through cleaning up my art room. Maybe a bit more. We'll find out this week. I've got at least a week, maybe 2 left to clean that up, but we're getting there. All right, I'm going to do a time check here at 12 minutes. Yes, Linda, that's why I just come up with 6 things. And if I get 3 of them done, that's good, because I know I will do other things anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, but these are the 6. And then the next day I'll take what's left of those 6 and now reprioritize them and add another 3. But, this is kind of called, I reckon there should be 6 hours in a day that I can concentrate. And if I can do 1 hour in each, I would actually take a lot of big steps forward. Yeah, what can I say? All right, here's my first quote. And for those of you who are watching for the first time, this is what we do. We read a quote, and then whatever it is that quote brings up for us this week, we talk about. Now, we realize that you could hear the same quote next week, and something completely different could come up in your mind. And just before I go into this, I just wanted to give a moment, and I apologize for not starting with it, to send out the thoughts and prayers for not only those people in the Carolinas, but also everybody in the Philippines that got hit by that super typhoon, and also the people now in Hong Kong and China that are being hit by that super typhoon. That's a scary one. That apparently is the worst on record for them, I believe, if I understood that correctly. But it's devastating what it's done. And I don't know about the rest of you, but it's like so scary. But I actually took it as a lesson. I want to say that. I've written on my to-do list today, floodplain, ? I realized that where I'm going to live could well be on a floodplain. And I want to tell you that from what I have seen, with the water levels rising every year through global warming, I think I need to be aware, if this is on a floodplain. Luckily, it's quite a way in, but even so, I think I need to be aware because I wouldn't have a second level to go to. This is called climbing on top of the 5th wheel. Now, would I still go there? Probably, but I'd like to be more aware, if that makes sense. Plus, I want to know what the elevation of it is, because if it's like 50 feet above sea level already, that's not too bad. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd like to know what that elevation is. If it's minus 20 feet, there's a dam somewhere holding the water back. I think I need to know about it. So that's what I've decided to do. It's on my list to check out. Here's the first quote. So just take a deep breath and relax and think about this quote. It says, life is the movie you see through your own unique eyes. It makes little difference what's happening out there. It's how you take it that counts. Life is the movie you see through your own unique eyes. It makes little difference what's happening out there. It's how you take it that counts. Right. Does that bring anything up for anybody? One of the things that I always say is that if you just understand that every day is a lesson, and sometimes every minute of every day is a lesson in my case, but that you just realize that good or bad is maybe not what it's about. As I said, I can sit and feel really badly about the people in North and South Carolina or in Hong Kong, but did I bother to check that out in my own reality? Does that make sense? So this is like, there's not a whole lot I can do to help in the Carolinas. Yes, Linda, yes, you're in control of what is around you. You're not in control of the world, but you are in control of your mind. Well, some of the time, right? Not necessarily all of the time. And so how we react to these things. So to me, I know that, for example, Jody is a very sensitive person. Excuse me. And Jody is a very sensitive person. And so she gets deeply affected when she watches something like the floods. Don't we all? But the trick is to have your own boundary where you go, there is little I can do to do other than feel very sorry for them. Unless I'm going to send money, send equipment, send whatever, right? For me to ruin my day because I can't do anything is actually non-productive. Hi, Christy. Welcome. And so how's the fire doing down there, Christy? Because I know you dropped me a note to say that fire started up again. So this is the whole thing, all right? Christy's got the fire going on, the forest fire. We've got, the people in Carolina dealing with the worst is yet to come, except they didn't realize that. They didn't listen, and they didn't realize that the water was going to be the problem, not the wind. 28% contained, so it's on the way. How far away is it from you this time, Christy? And I just want to check, is it still the Reading fire? Is it still called the Reading fire, or is it called something else now? Well, the fact they got it 28% contained means it's under control. It's an hour away. Oh, wow. And how are the winds? What I'm trying to work out is how strong a wind have you got pushing it? The Delta fire. Okay, thank you. All right, so any of you who want to keep track of that and see what's going on, that's in Christie's area, and it's just an hour away from her. That's not very far, with a strong wind behind it. So one of the things that we need to be aware of is we can only do so much. We can only do so much with the people around us, right? It's like, we spend so much of our lives trying to change people who are not going to change. What needs to change, as we say time and time again, is how we look at it. And, we have to be proactive, not have to be, we may choose to be proactive, in terms of controlling our environment and how our boundaries are set and what we will put up with. And that is a very important step, that to understand that. Once you can understand that, your life changes quite dramatically. Also, it is a case of sometimes what looks like a really bad situation isn't necessarily as bad as we think it is. It's just a learning situation. And I think we learn who loves us, really loves us, right? Not pretend loves us, or we find out that we can live with a lot less or whatever. I know that there's part of me that is absolutely terrified of the move I'm going to make, and I don't mind admitting that. And I just can't work out how to do this. From 2,500 square feet to 500 is a huge shift. And I want to put it all in storage just in case I can't do it properly. All right, let's do the next quote. Yes, Linda. Linda's saying the biggest lesson she learned from me so far is I choose to, not I have to, or I must, or I ought to. I choose to. I think when we can own our own actions, life changes quite a bit. I choose to be in a panic. I don't have to be, but I choose to be. Now, but we want to blame it on everybody else, right? And it's not true. It's like, if I keep thinking, if we were really Zen, could just take a deep breath and just go, I am not what I see. All right. And I think, that's almost like a Course in Miracles, right? That you are not what you're looking at, or what you're looking at isn't even what it looks like. It looks like chaos, and yet it isn't, right? There are reasons for all of this. So take a moment to take a breath and go, I choose to check on my reactions to things. Here's another quote. Take another deep breath. Let's see where this takes us. Set your sights high. The higher, the better. Expect the most wonderful things to happen, not in the future, but right now. Realize that nothing is too good. Allow absolutely nothing to hamper you or hold you up in any way. I'm going to read it again. Set your sights high, the higher the better. Expect the most wonderful things to happen, not in the future, but right now. Realize that nothing is too good. Allow absolutely nothing to hamper you or hold you up in any way. Does that bring up anything for anybody? Can you think of an area where you've been procrastinating? Or where you let your fears hold you back to some degree? Yeah, I thought so too. I liked it. So I obviously can see it in a lot of areas for me. I'd love to tell you that I'm perfect, but I'm not. So there are lots of things that I've been seeing about this, and that's okay. All right. The main thing is that you can see it. And if you can see it, you can do something about it. I think one of the interesting things when you first start, hi Becca, when you first start doing work on yourself, instead of trying to change the world, you start working on yourself, is that you realize that only we, can look at these things, and only we can do the things we want to get done. I'm glad to hear that you did, Becca. Well done. And so you should at your age. And I say that with all the love in the world. I'm here at 71, still trying to make some pretty grown-up decisions. So I totally get that. And I know what it feels like when you make one. It definitely helps a great deal. So allow nothing to stand in your way this week. All right. How many of you go, okay, let me start the week again with that in my mind? We can all come up with 1,001 reasons why we can't do things. Let's do things, the things we want to do. And so here's, okay, now Becca, again, I've got to ask you, are you waiting for us to ask you what it is you've done, or are you planning to tell us? Because you threw the bait out again, you're on the fishing line. So either tell us, all right, because you know what you're doing is teasing. And okay, good. I had a feeling you'd learned that lesson. Yeah, Christy's saying making grown-up decisions are good, but really hard sometimes. Yeah, I totally agree. You're hoping to have a better week, Christy, or are you going to make it a better week? And, you know, only we can make it a better week, right? Nobody else can. We can't keep blaming the world for this. I like that. Linda says, I start every week with, I need to do, but Sal says, I can do. Right. And if you choose, right, you can choose not to. Yes, so Becca, like, I presume it's okay for me to say that out loud. Becca, let me know yes or no. In the meantime, I'll read another quote. To see your drama clearly is to be liberated from it. To see your drama clearly is to be liberated from it. How many of you have learned that lesson, that you really create your own drama in so many of the cases, just by your reaction, lack of action, whatever it may be? Thank you, Linda. That's extremely big compliment that you pay me. Linda's saying, you're my little voice on my shoulder. Okay, so what Becca had said here was, I ended up basically officially letting go of a friendship that had its season and now has moved on to a different season. Yes, and that does take courage, but it also is very freeing. But that doesn't mean it, you know, what I like to think of, Becca, is like it's a circle, all right? And you've got circles, sometimes they touch. And sometimes, Becca, that will come around to touch again. And sometimes you may end up together again, all right? It's just that at the moment, it's like a circle touching and moving away. But I found it sometimes in my life that circle comes right around and I touch again, but this time it's on a different platform. Yeah. So to see your own drama clearly is to be liberated from it. So can you see any drama that you created for yourself recently? Well, Becca, you know, with tears in my eyes, if that helps you see that, all right. And I do believe, you know, it's that old story, you know, if you love something, give it away. If it's yours, it'll come back. If it isn't, it wasn't meant to be anyway. The other thing to know about letting go of relationships, I think part of the reason we are slow to let go of relationships that are not working for us, is that we're scared we won't get another one in exchange, you know, and that's scary. How many of you felt that one? How many of you felt that this isn't very healthy, but on the other hand, it's the only relationship I've got, so I should hang on to it? You see, for me, though, I would rather think of it in terms of, the unknown, right? Will I find another friend? I like to think of it as, and you've probably heard me say this, of going up a stepladder. You know, to go up a stepladder requires coordination, for one thing, all right? But if you think about it, you need to hold on to a rung up here, and then when you want to bring this hand up to go to the next rung, it requires that you lift a foot. You cannot climb a ladder without letting go of a piece of security. I wonder if that paints the right picture for people. Yes, Linda, I do believe sometimes we hold on to a friendship because we feel we may not get another one. Can you imagine what it's like for me? I'm going to be moving away from somebody I've had a relationship with here, my tenant and friend Yvonne, for nearly 20 years. And, you know, and that's really scary for me because I know she cares so deeply. But the idea of not being able to have her downstairs, you know, I realized was really scary. And that was part of my drama. Instead of believing that, you know, she'll still be there as close as a text can be. And, you know, if we want to see each other again, we will. You know, that is the reality. And so what I would say to you is just be really aware this week of seeing the drama and choosing to let it go. Knowing, this is what I keep reminding myself. I don't know if any of you do this. What I have to remember for me is, boy, you know, when I want to, I can make friends quite quickly. Now, I'm pretty selective about the friends I make. How about you guys? You know, I used to collect friends like autumn leaves. You know, oh, you want me as a friend? You got me. But I'm much more selective these days. I realize I don't have to be friendly with everybody. I can have them as acquaintances, but I don't have to be friendly with them. And so to me, it's like I've always made friends and I've moved around. You know, I'm a bit like an army brat. You know, I've moved around so much in my life that, you know, I just have to remember wherever I moved to, I made new friends and I made them fairly quickly too. And I like to think that I'm a really interesting person and I'm, you know, pretty nice to know. On the other hand, you all know me well enough to know you don't want to mess with me. So that, you know, and so people have to learn that. I've got these boundaries that you don't want to tread on too often. And so I have to feel, not have to, I choose to remember that I actually am, you know, fairly nice person most of the time, not all of the time. I'd love to tell you all of the time, but that would definitely not be true of me. But most of the time, and I am a very, I'd like to think I'm a good friend to the few that I choose to be friendly with. And I keep trying to remember that. I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but, you know, we are now in September and I am still dealing with last year's December, you know. I'm still dealing with some issues about that. And I keep having to remind myself when I'm woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, with somebody with a problem. And I just have to keep remembering, breathe. I'm sure it's a good time of the day where they live. So we know they're probably coming to you from the Philippines if they are busy asking you intelligent questions at 4 o'clock in the morning, your time. And what I do is I'm inclined to type back going, shouldn't take too long, just answer it and get it over with. You know what I mean? And I'm going, remembering that they don't know what the time is. But if they ask me too many follow-up questions, you can probably imagine I go, I think the answer is this, but at 4 a.m. in the morning, my mind isn't functioning very well. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know what the time was. I said, no, that's what I thought. You know, and so, you know, I realize, could I turn that into drama? How inconsiderate of them. Why don't they, you know, check what the time is before they type, da, 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 da. That would be drama. And I choose now to take a deep breath and go, they really have not thought of this through. They've forgotten where I live. You know, they just, how many of you do that? You've got a problem and you want it fixed now. So you don't really think about the other person. You just, yeah, Christy, right? You're a do it now sort of person, and therefore I need to get this fixed right now. And it's interesting. If I want something fixed in the middle of, or if it comes up for me in the middle of the night, I'll send an email because I reckon then they can choose when to open it. Okay, Becca, no problem, honey. Congratulations on what you did. Big hugs. Okay, go right ahead, Becca. Look after one, you mean the phrase, look after one another, but most of all, look after yourself? I don't know where I got into doing that. Right at the beginning, I started saying that. And I've said it ever since. Yeah. What about it, Becca? But I would ask, how many of you have realized why I say that? That's a great one, Linda. Drama needs to know how to knock at my door and know when I answer yes. It's, in other words, you choose whether to let drama in or not. That's exactly it, Linda. If you can keep that visual of drama knocking on your door and go, I can hear you knocking, but you can't come in. You might even, if you open the door a little bit, Linda, put the safety lock on. You know what I mean? Put that safety chain on before you open the door a little bit. If you're going, yeah, I don't think so. Right. Wow. That brings tears to my eyes, Becca. For those of you watching on the replay, she said that phrase, look after yourself before you look after everybody else. Look after one another, but most of all, look after yourself, right? That phrase has become my core motivation to heal myself. Yes, well done. Great. I want to tell you something, Becca. That's awesome to hear. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. Now, you don't have to win brownie points. You're right. The main thing is that you could see it. All right. When you can see it, then you can do something about it. Right. And if you have got to the point where you can see things, it's the same as with my weight, Becca. All right. I know that the only thing that's going to change my weight is if I change what I'm putting into my body. Obviously, the combination, I don't care that I'm eating 1,500 calories or less. Yeah, you don't need brownie points, right? You have you're lucky enough to have your family right there. See, to me, it's about do it for you, not for the brownie points, not to what I didn't mean that I thought you did, by the way. But, a lot of us grew up doing things for the brownie points. How many of you relate to that? You become a people pleaser. And that's really important to know what is important to you. When we can, I've always tried to explain it, whenever you get into a situation, try and take yourself out of it and ask yourself, if you were looking at this going on with a friend of yours, what advice would you give them? I find that helps so much. Because for some reason, when you're looking down at the situation, instead of being in it, look at it, not be in it. When you look at it, you go, well, if I were watching my friend do this, I'd probably be telling her, okay, Becca, big hugs, honey. Well done. I'd probably be telling her to look at all sides of this before she makes a major decision. And so to me, that's really important that we understand. The other thing is we can make decisions for ourselves and we can end up losing friends and family because of it. And I'm certain that some of you have done that in your lives already. And so does that mean it was a wrong decision? No. It means that they, wanted you to make a decision that pleased them, not the one that pleased you. And, it's really strange. One of the things I kept thinking about was, well, what am I going to do on Sundays? when I move, right? I mean, I won't be cooking the family dinner. And then I thought to myself, maybe I can find people where I'm going that, would enjoy family dinner. And, maybe I can make little mini meals that people that are working can come home and collect one on the way home. I was thinking, I'm sure I'm going to keep cooking. So, why fight with fire here? Right? I'm just going to find new people to give the food to. And I'm certain that I will find people that will appreciate that. Yeah, Linda wants to come over for Sunday dinner. Now, do you know there's a story behind this, Linda? I don't know if you know this, but I grew up thinking that I couldn't cook. I grew up in a family where, my mother, used to cook these incredible 5-course meals, and my sister was an excellent cook. Yeah. And I really did, keep saying, well, the cook in the family is my sister. Well, it was my mother while she was alive, but then it was my sister. And, yeah, I want to tell you something, Christy, that doing a family dinner, even if you've got to find a family, you know what I mean, is a really good idea. I quite honestly, I originally did it when I first came here because Yvonne was a single mom with a child, and so I wanted them to have at least one family type meal every week, and it just sort of carried on. And for 20 years, that's what I've been doing. Is on a Sunday I will cook a meal of some sort. And nowadays it's to thank them for the help they give me around the garden and stuff like that. But there's always somebody who needs a family meal. And I'm pretty certain that I will continue it. Yeah. And what I found, to my surprise, when I was downsizing my spices this week, Linda, I was a bit shocked as to how many spices I actually had. And I'm going, why have I got this many? Never mind the herbs, just the spices. And I'm going, why have I got this many? And it was funny because I was saying to Yvonne, I can't believe I've got this many spices. When I actually took them out of all the cupboards and put them in one place. And she said, well, that's because you cook. And you cook interesting meals. And I said, well, I'd never have thought of it like that. All right, take a deep breath. You're going to love this one, everybody. A human being is a single being, unique and unrepeatable. How many of you know that you are unique? Yeah, Jody's just left a note here saying that her neighbor used to make Sunday dinner every Saturday night because we did her grocery shopping for her. Yes. And I am certain that I have no doubt in my mind, Jody, it might take me a little while to find out who the right person is or not, you know what I mean? But I am certain that I will find somebody that I can please with a meal or two. And from what I've seen, the guy that lives next door probably would appreciate it. Yeah, he's doesn't look like somebody who necessarily cooks great meals for himself. So how many of you know you are unique? The reason that you actually live the life that you live is because you are unique. The reason you've attracted what you have in your life is because you are unique. You have that strength to cope. You have, all that it takes to be able to do the life that you have lived. And, we sometimes think that this is such a difficult life, and yet sometimes the difficulties are the things that are shown to us so that we can appreciate what we've really got, as opposed to what we thought. Yeah, so Linda's saying that for her, the house has become the priority because of her mom. Yeah, I think, really important to know what it is that makes it home for you. My biggest struggle at the moment is I am busy. I don't know if this makes sense to you, Linda, but I am busy working out how I get my cubies. I live my life with storage. And I now realize that before I put any clothes in, before I put anything in, I want room. I've got to make room for my cubies. I think I found the ideal place to put those 2 cubies. And it came to me on my last visit. If you can imagine, as you walk into this 5th wheel, you're facing the kitchen it's got an island. And I took some measurements, and I think I can fit it underneath the counter of the island has the sink in it. I think this double unit will fit underneath. I think it will fit underneath that counter. So I've sent the measurements and asked them just to check it for me. So the overhang will happen. Just like, and if necessary, I will cut off some of the bottom of it and use it for shoes or something at the very bottom. Hi there, Kim. So life is about, to my mind, life is about seeing what is really there, not what we wish was there, and also adjusting. I need to adjust to this as best I can. All right. This isn't perfect, but I need to just deal with it. It's important that I deal with it. Because nobody else is going to deal with it. I need to. Right. So here's the next quote for you. Take a deep breath. And here we go. Have no fear of moving into the unknown. It hurt us, right? Simply step out fearlessly, knowing that I am with you, and therefore no harm will befall you. All is very, very well. Do this in complete faith and confidence. So, this is Soul Work Sunday, Kim, as usual. So, from that quote, what is it that you feel you need to just approach head on? What is it you need to have that faith, complete faith and confidence in, and just move forward without worrying about what rungs you're going to go up next or what you have to let go of? Just keep going forward. Life in general. Yes, Linda. Yeah. Because we know it can change completely in a day. And I think it's really important that you understand how mercurial, like Mercury, how changeable life can be in as much as a day. And I thank you for that, Jody. Jody's just saying, if you're enjoying the broadcast, please take a moment and hit the thumbs up button, which is down here somewhere. And don't forget to subscribe either. So life can change. I'm certain an awful lot of people in Carolina are in the Carolinas, both North and South, are busy going, why didn't I listen? Can you imagine that? Now, I'm not talking about the ones that couldn't move because they didn't have the transport or they didn't have the money to be able to move or they didn't have family or whatever. I'm talking about the people that could have moved and didn't. I'm still waiting to hear from, about the guy who was on the Outer Banks and chose not to move. I want to know if he's still alive, or the guy that chose to ride it out in his boat. And I'm going, they were allowing for a 9-foot surge, and I think it went to 11. So what happened to the guy in the boat is what I want to know. Yes, Christy, that's very true as well. Christy's saying, if you don't ever jump in and try, you will never know what you're missing. It may be the best thing you've ever done. Yes. And there has to be a reason why you feel duty bound to do that as well. If you understand, you either win or you learn. I think that's, you know what I mean? There is no fail. And I am quite certain that as I said, in the Carolinas today, there are an awful lot of people who've learned a lot, who learned that it sounded like a good idea to not move away from the oncoming border. But now they realize they could have saved themselves a lot of trauma. And how many of you need to be really grateful this week that you don't live there and that your house isn't flooded? Or that somebody isn't sitting in a house where the water is rising and now they've run out of gas, petrol, whatever you call it in whatever country you're in. I'm saying petrol for Linda. That they've run out of petrol to be able to fill up the boats that can go and help the people who are stranded, or the fact that people that were helping people who were stranded are beginning to get stranded themselves. So, this is about be grateful this week. However bad your lot is, be grateful, because it could be a lot worse. And this one again is just going on from this, but life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. And so, does that bring up anything for any of you? What have you been fighting against recently that you haven't allowed to flow? Okay, Linda, she says it's nearly midnight in the morning for her AM, and so she's off to get some sleep. All right, good night, Linda. Thank you for being here, honey. So what is it that you need to let just go and be? I think as well that quite often when we get into these, but that's no good if you're a control freak. No, I understand that, but that's your own drama. Right? That's creating your own drama, right? Being a control freak. Believe me, I know, Linda. You missed the quote? What did you miss, Christy? So I keep, do any of you relate to this? I keep wondering, have I taken too long with all this downsizing? Everybody else seemed to have done that so quickly and it's taking me so long. And I keep trying to remind myself there's a reason why I need to take this long. Okay, the quote was this, and say hi to Sophia for it. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes, Christy. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality, and let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. And this is about stop trying to be ruler of the universe. And I really, this week, really concentrate on that. Yeah, this isn't what you expected to have happen. But it is what it is. And therefore, I just need to let it happen. Yeah. I want to give a practical example of that. I had a whole lot of stuff to give away to the Diabetes Society. And I put it all outside as they told me to. And when I got up the next day, it was still there. And part of me wanted to go, why didn't they come and collect it? They told me to put it out. And I went, I have no idea. Maybe the guy had an accident, Sal. All sorts of things could have happened. So why don't you just decide, do you want to leave it out here or do you want to take it back inside? And then the next time they phone, it can just go out again. You know what I mean? It was just like, it is what it is. Reality is reality. We might not like it, but it is reality. And we cannot change reality, if that makes sense. We need to just go with the flow of it. I'm really working hard on that one this year. All right, here's another one along that line for those of you who are struggling. Experience is determined by yourself, not the circumstances of your life. Experience is determined by yourself, not the circumstances of your life. How many people do you know that say, well, if I were rich, I'd be a generous person as well? And the joke is, if you're a generous person, you'd be doing it even though you're not rich. Or, you would be giving of yourself, of your time, of your ability, whatever. I met so many people who, I'd be doing it if only, and don't be an if only person. If you hear yourself, well, I do that if only I had, well, you don't. So how do you do it anyway? I think one of the interesting things that I've noticed is that when you retire, you notice that life really doesn't change a whole lot, surprisingly. You thought you were going to have all this time to do things in, and you don't, because you actually slow down to your natural rhythm, and you realize that you've been pushing yourself for way too long, and your natural rhythm is a lot slower than maybe you'd been doing up until then. And I think that's one of the things that's truly, truly surprised me, is that really my life hasn't changed that much. I still procrastinate on the same things. I still enjoy some of the same things. I still have problem making time for some of the same things. Retirement really hasn't changed it. Okay, so Jody's saying, I'm working on accepting the reality of how much time it takes in each day to complete all my leg therapy and the other necessary medical tasks. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Jody suffers from lymphedema, and that's where your body just keeps blowing up. And she just doesn't have it in her legs. It has gone all the way up into the lower part of her torso. But she has to do certain exercises for her legs to try and help the movement of liquid. Would that be a fair description of it, Jody, that the exercises are to help push the liquid around? And so to me, it's like, Jodi's life changed completely once, she used to have these hours where she could do certain things in, but now she has to make time to do these special therapy exercises. Yeah, to move the lymph fluid around. So now the time that she used to have is now taken up by doing the leg exercises. So, and how long does that take in a day, Jodi? How many hours of your day does it take to do those exercises? Because what I want everybody to think about for a moment is, if you were suddenly told you need to spend 2 hours a day doing something that you haven't had to do up until now, what things would you have to stop doing to be able to find that time? Because I think if you think about it, that's what Jodi's had to do. She's had to change the way she lives her life. Well, in two ways, because number one, she isn't physically able to do a lot of things that she was able to do, but also the time that it takes to do those exercises to keep the fluid moving even a bit has dramatically changed her life as well. And so I always think to myself, all right, she does 2 treatments of 90 minutes each. And that's just with the electric pump. And then there are other exercises. So overall, in a day, how much time do you spend on self-therapy? So just so you understand, for 90 minutes, is that when you're in the compression? So 4 hours of her day, every day, is spent in therapy, self-therapy. That's an awful lot of time. And so, yeah, the compression pump. I just wanted to explain that to people who might not know. So if you like, if you can imagine, if this is Jodi's leg, she actually has to put on like a sleeve, if you like, over her leg. And then it gets pumped up like a heart rate monitor thing. But it does the whole leg. And what it does is it actually, does it vibrate, pulsate, Jodi? Or does it just compress? There's part of me that goes, yeah, that's a long time. You imagine taking 4 hours out of your day every day. Your day as you live it right now, if you had to take 4 hours out of it it does pulsate. That's what I wondered, right? To get into these big leggings that pulsate and try and move the fluid around. Yeah, what would you have to give up? Now, Jodi, just so everybody understands, when you're doing that, are you able to read or something? Or do you have to physically be aware all the time of what's going on? This is why I'm always so grateful for all that Jodi does to help me, because I realize that her time is very limited and she spends an awful lot of time here helping us. Yeah, she can read and she can sketch. All right. So do you understand then, in terms of what we've been saying, Jodi could fight this and go, it's not fair, I've got to sit in here, and do this. Or she could say, oh, it's time for my quiet time. Maybe my meditation time. Maybe she can put on a meditation or whatever. And maybe meditate while she does her sketching. Do you understand? It's how she deals with it that will determine whether this is a problem or not. The truth is, it has to be done. I think about Christy, when Sophia came into your life, right? Those are a few hours out of your life that you realize you're never going to get back again. All right, that this little darling angel as she is now going to occupy how many hours of your day that you now going to need to find time for. And what did you have to drop for the joy of that? And that's really what I want to say, is that life happens and it changes the reality. It really does change the reality. And so therefore, be aware that how we deal with them is what makes the difference. So if Jody says, yay, it's time to be creative, meaning she needs to put on her leg things and relax and be creative or whatever, maybe, Jody, I know that you want to get going on your Christmas project. So maybe possibility that, from this point onwards, that leg time is Christmas time, right? That you start making the cards you want to make, or, or to do as much as you can. I know you can't do it all because you have to move around for some things, but to, get everything ready before you start it, and start being creative Christmas wise now, and see that time. Yeah. Christy's saying she never slept, has a baby, and still doesn't sleep. Yeah. So I think, it's what are you going to do about it? Right? There's got to be a reason why you don't sleep. It's interesting, Christy. May I make a suggestion to you? Do you know roughly on average how many hours sleep you get in a week or in a day, the average? Is the she you or your daughter? Okay, so here's, this requires some boundary, all right? And the sooner you get those in, I think the more important for you, Christy. I don't know about the rest of you, but I know that my mother used to take 2 hours every afternoon to go into her room and close the door. And the rules were, the house needs to be burning down for you to knock on this door and interrupt her from her sleep. I don't think she actually slept. I think she read or did whatever. But it was her 2 hour slot in the afternoon. And, I think it's really important that for Sophia as well, that she learns that, there are certain times when you're not going to be available to her 24/7. And, but, that she also goes to her room. And she plays in there for 2 hours, or whatever. Find things for her to do for those 2 hours, because she's old enough now. She's a smart cookie. And preferably not dance too much, because that could wake you up. But what I found, Christy, just so you know, I really started to check on how much sleep I am getting. And, the interesting thing to me is that I really am surprised how little sleep I get. I thought I was doing better than this. I'm just going to try and show you. I thought I was doing better, but I'm not. So the star, Christy, the star is when I've done 8 hours sleep. I don't know if you can see that. But look at my sleep pattern. It's all over the place. And so the only way that that changes is that I really do something about it. Now, I can tell you that, you know, I'm doing a lot better. I was actually getting less than 6 hours sleep a night, and I'm now up to, I think, close to 7. Last week, I think I did close to 7. So I think, start from where you are. If you know that your average sleep time is 4 hours, work on 4.5, or slot in a half an hour cat nap in the afternoon to make it 4.5. And do what you have to do. So, because, your body needs that extra sleep. And only you can change it. All right. No, nobody else can change it for you. You have to do the right things to be able to do that. Jody was having a lot of problem, and I recommended that she literally put on meditation music and fall asleep to meditation music. And, it's amazing. She's had a couple of nights recently, one of 7 hours, I think, and one of 8, which is amazing. I'm just amazed that she's done that for herself. So big round of applause to Jody, because she took a situation that was out of control. And she's done the right things, obviously, because even if it's not consistent, Jody, right, you've done the right things that are creating sleep. So, yeah, don't thank me. Good job, yeah. Oh, Kim says she listens to rain and thunder videos, all right? Now, some of you listen to babbling brooks and some of you to birds tweeting. It doesn't matter. We have no excuses these days. You don't even have to spend money. You just go to YouTube and listen, all right? And by the way, look for the one that's part of a big playlist, because you want it to carry on. I thought this was a great quote as well. Listen to this. When you feel that you've reached the end and that you cannot go one step farther, when life seems to be drained of all purpose, what a wonderful opportunity to start all over again, to turn over a new page. Right? So if you think this is like, okay, I don't see I don't see a path here anymore. You go, okay, so let me start my new life today. And if this is as good as it gets, I always say that to myself. If this is as good as it gets, how do I make myself happy? Not who has to come and make me happy, but how do I make myself happy? If I only have 500 square feet, how am I going to do the things I want to do? It's possible. I just have to work it out. If I only have 500 square feet, what am I prepared to let go of and what am I not prepared to let go of? And how many plan B, C, and D do I need to make sure I can enjoy what I want to hang on to? It's really a challenge. And one of the things that came to me this week, and I don't know why I didn't think of it before, is that it has a 17-foot slide out on the one side. And I realized I can put those QB units, like this one. Okay, if you can imagine a U shape complete of cubies like that. So 17 foot along and then one unit out each side, making a big U. How much room will I have for storage? Yay. Yeah, this is the whole thing. That it's not for our environment to make us happy. It is for us to make ourselves happy with what we have. Okay, so Christy's saying, that's how I feel about having to move. I don't want to move, but we have to move. Yeah, that's exactly the same as I am in, right? But I look at it that this is our new journey to something that is better for us. Yes. I want to tell you something, Christy, that the other thing is in downsizing, what I'm doing is saying, okay, at the moment I got I've got one box and 3 cubies with baking stuff in it. Well, that's got to change. I'm now only allowed 2. You know what I mean? And so it's quite simple. I take everything out of all the cubies and then start packing it back in, either much more creatively, so I can get 3 cubies into 2, or yesterday I was trucking plastic, like you cannot believe again. Yes. And so to me, this is like my biggest problem that I've got to find the answer to is I need to be able to get the cubies and stuff in first before anything gets there. Does that make sense? I wanted to, those cubies changed my life as well. Once I worked out how to do those, I have them in every room. Really, it's just like, they are so useful and they keep everything so tidy, which for somebody who's not naturally a tidy person really helps. Yeah. And the other thing is not to try and buy them all at once. Most of mine, this is the joke, most of mine I bought in the grocery store. My local grocery store, actually, these are Safeway. Okay. These are Safeway totes. And, if you look at the side, they've got Safeway advertising on them. No. Yeah, Safeway. And it's just like, I was able to pick them up at $4 a piece, which is like a third of what you have to pay for them normally. So I got really creative. I want to tell you something, Kim. It takes longer to get rid of the stuff than you know. And I recommend start doing it sooner rather than later. I had no idea it was going to take this long. Especially if you're probably going to get rid of it for life. You know what I mean? Where I've so far probably got rid of half of my stuff completely. But I do a little bit each week, so it won't be too traumatic. And then I go back and do it a second time. I will do the first purge and then I will go back and do a second time. But I do it one drawer at a time. I literally, Kim, I'm not joking. I will take one shelf and go, I have to get rid of half of what's on the shelf. And then, one drawer, I have to get rid of half. I choose to get rid of half, or one shelf of a bookcase, half of this has to go. Where's it going to go? Am I going to donate it? Am I going to throw it away? It's the only way and I've done it very carefully. And I had no idea how much I had in my art studio. It's amazing. Wow, this is a quote that I'm certain you all are going to shake your heads with and hopefully put up by your mirror for the week. To find yourself, think for yourself. To find yourself, think for yourself. Wow, isn't that true? Yeah, Christy is saying, if we haven't used it for 6 months, then we don't need it when we move. Christy, let me tell you something. When I started packing up, and I can't remember when that was, but I packed up the obvious things first, I have got probably 20 boxes of stuff already in the garage that I have packed up from upstairs, not the stuff that was already in the garage, but I probably have got at least 20 boxes of stuff down there. And in all the time that it's been down there, and some of it's been there for over 6 months, I have only gone down once to get something out of one of those boxes. Isn't that interesting? And it goes to show you how much stuff we keep that we really don't need. But of course, we keep it because it has personal meaning. Yeah, Kim saying you have to wait until next year to have a yard sale or sell it online. Yes, or not sell it. You know, I literally, and I have to say this, Kim, there's very little I'm going to sell of my stuff because I realize that for me, it's more painful to sell it. Right? And I know that sounds strange, but I don't want somebody picking it up and saying, well, this is a load of trash or whatever. And I literally go, you either think this is really special, in which case you keep it, or it's time for it to go. And just because somebody gave it to you 25 years ago does not mean you need to still keep it. You know what I mean? It's like really, and you know, I'm getting closer. I probably this week I will get to the one box that I wanted to share with you. In the hidden behind one part of my art studio is my memory box, and that is the memory box from my first years of being a professional speaker. And I've got all sorts of things like flyers, you know, and stuff. So you're going to get pictures of me 40 years ago and all sorts of stuff. And I thought I would do at least one broadcast of showing you some of the flyers that I had, or some of the, I'm not sure what's in the box, but I thought that some of you would probably like to see that bit of my history. And how about this one? This says, a tree that can fill the span of a man's arms grows from a downy tip. A terrace 9 stories high rises from hods full of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles, we know, starts from beneath one's feet. And so, what one step, you know, I always say that, what one step can you take today? Don't try and finish it today, just take one more step. Yes, Christy, that is a very special box. And I've been talking about it for a number of months now, because I know that when I get to it, I probably will be throwing it out. That's the sad thing. And I probably will take pictures of some of it, but I will probably be chucking it. And that makes it extra special in some ways. Now, the other thing is this, you know, I can look at it and say, hey, the hunting horn has gone and the horse brushes have gone. That doesn't mean I'm going to throw them away. I just have no idea where I'm going to put those in a fifth wheel. But I will find a place. I promise you. I know that you guys, even if I have to bring out the hunting horn once a week just for the broker, or 3 times a week just for the brokers, we will find a place for the hunting horn, because I know that's part of our, I might not be able to have it behind me, but I will find, you know, a place to put it. It's funny, I keep thinking to myself, where am I going to put those horse brushes and that hunting horn? Because I know you guys will never forgive me if I don't have them. But I will find room. Command hooks, right? I don't know. I'm also busy thinking, you know, all the magical tips you get about, you know, using the inside of a cupboard door in your kitchen. I'm thinking I may have to use the outside of mine as well, because I have so little space in my kitchen. I'm thinking, yeah, but how many things could I actually hang on the outside of the doors? You know, stick a couple of command hooks on. You know, maybe one door has the measuring cups on it and another one has, you know, I'm busy thinking that far, because I'm going, there is no room. But I will have to find room. Or chuck some more. So one last one, here we go. Stride forward with a firm, steady step, knowing that with deep concern, inner knowing, that you will reach every goal you set yourselves, that you will achieve every aim. There are no walls, Jody. Pegboard on the walls would be great, but there are no walls in the kitchen area. You know, I mean, I just want to tell you, because I know that you'll like this visual. It has a light fixture above the island, and the island has like 3 lights hanging down. And I said to said to Paula, I said, do me a favor, can you get up there? And she said, what? I said, can you get up there and tell me how strong is that light fixing? How strong is that light? You know, that it's a piece of wood with 3 lights coming down. And I said, I'm not asking you to pull it off the ceiling, but just, you know, give it a bit of a touch, see how strong it is. Does it wobble or does it feel fairly secure? And I said, because I want to know what I can hang off it. Because what it is, it's a piece of wood that is about this far below the roof, which means I can put an S hook and put my pots and pans on it if they're the lighter ones, or my mugs. It's like my mind, you have no idea how my mind is doing overtime. Yeah, rethink the pegboard in the kitchen. There is not any wall space in the kitchen. I'm going to send you that link again, Jody. You got to relook at the kitchen. Oh, somebody asked for the link and I forgot to send it to them. Who was that? They couldn't have wanted it that badly, otherwise they would have got back to me. Yeah, and so, Christy, this is all about how creative can I be? And now some people, you know, it's interesting, Christy, because what people are saying to me is, well, you don't want to, you know, put too much in there. And I'm going, no, they don't want to. Yeah, I think it was Beth. You're right. Jody, could you make a note for me and make sure I do it? But, you know, this is so true, right? It's not a case of how, you know, everybody wants me to make it so pretty in there. And I'm going, pretty is not what I want. I want functional. So, for example, I keep worrying about what am I going to use for a dining room table? And I'm going, do I really want a dining room table? Or do I have a fold you up one somewhere else that if I need it, I can pull it out, throw, you know, what do you call it, tablecloth over it and have an instant, maybe a card table or something that becomes a dining room table. How often am I going to have more than 4 people? The rest of the time, I'm probably going to be eating on my lap anyway, because I do that already. So I don't need a dining room table. But the question is, do I want a desk? Now, there is a desk as part of the unit. Part of the entertainment center actually pulls out and becomes a desk. So I've got to think about, do I need a desk or do I want a coffee table? Not a coffee table, you know, a small table. And I'm going, wait a minute, it's already got a little area where you can sit and have a cup of coffee. Hi there, Jonas. How's the job? I've got to go. It's literally time for me to go and I've got dinner to make here. So you understand, this is all about, I can do this. Now, if I want to move and have it perfect within a week, I can't do it. It will probably take me as long to unpack as it has taken me to pack. Does that make sense? And what if I give myself permission for that? What if I give myself permission to move in with the bare minimum and then just start unpacking a box or 2 a week? The same as I have been packing up a box and 2 a week. And, you know, then it gives me a chance to say, well, I really want to keep this. Well, if you do, something has to go because you haven't got room for this and the rest of it. Or you need to sell something online, or you need to do this, that, and the other. So I hope that this has helped a little bit for some of you. Can I ask There's a perfectionist. Jonas says, it's okay, still not as efficient as I would like to be because I'm still figuring stuff out. I only work 3 days a week and you've only had one shift so far. Yeah, does being a perfectionist ring any bells, Jonas? You know, if it's a nice people with a nice environment, be very grateful. I've always said to people, you know, 6 months from now, you'll know how it is. It takes about 6 months to really get to know what you're doing. That's my experience anyway. You know, it takes you 3 months to get really into the swing, but it takes about 6 months to really know what you're doing. Wow, you start each day with the meeting talking about your feelings. Wow, that's unusual. That's good for you, Jonas. I would think that that would be very valuable for you. You see, you ended up in the right place. Isn't it amazing? I want to tell you from my experience, Jonas, that a good relationship and environment to work in is actually the most people value that more than money. People will go without the money to have that. Of course, you don't want to let them down. None of us do. You are not unusual in that, honey. Just keep being who you are and you'll be just fine. Don't try and do too much. Don't try and show off too much. Just be who you are. You're a good person. You have a good work ethic. And, you know, just don't try too much. Just be good. And being you is being good. Makes sense? I'm 2 minutes over time. Goodbye. So I'm going to give you all a big hug. Remember to look after one another. It's a pleasure, Jonas. I really send you a big hug, honey. I want to tell you, your first days in the first job of your life, they're not easy. So be kind to yourself, please. And feel free to come vent if you need to, or write to me. You know what the number is to write to me. I mean, you know how to get to me. So, yeah, have a great week, everybody. Make it a great week, but be aware, all right? Make sure you know you are the drama. You create it if you let it in. Open that door just a little bit, see it's drama, and go, no, thank you. Close the door. This is DearMamaSal saying, have fun. Bye-bye for now.